Not much, because one of the experiences of people like me going to the Nordic countries was that you almost invariably stuck to the capitals, and they were really the focal points also. And I think that's as true of Copenhagen as it was of Helsinki, as it was of Stockholm. You essentially, that dominated business life, it seems to me, and so outside that, awareness is very small.
Okay. To be honest, I haven't heard that much about Aarhus. Yes, I know about Denmark, I know about Copenhagen, I know about many things that are going on there. I mean, everybody knows about Danish design.
Prior to this, my knowledge of Aarhus was really that it was the second largest city in Denmark, but I didn't really know very much more than that. And since I have come across Aarhus, I now, do associate the education angle with it, because I now, do see that popping up in various places. So I think it's just one of those things where you don't really notice it unless you have a reason to, and then you start noticing it.
When we consider Aarhus, I think Aarhus has some of the very classic elements of a second city. Copenhagen is, of course, the capital city, which houses the corporates, the headquarters, the government, many of the national art and cultural treasures and endowment. Aarhus is therefore not the capital city, and in that case it follows the sort of model that's followed by Barcelona, it's followed to a certain extent by Lyon, it's certainly followed by a number of other cities around the world, of being the innovative and interesting place, which is not overburdened by the role of being the capital and all that requires in terms of presenting national identity, and therefore is a place where certain kinds of innovation can flourish. It's a place that can be different, it's a place that can have edge, and it's a place that can present itself to the world, as it were, clear from some of the constraining dimensions of Danish nationalism.
Well, the first thing that comes out of the document is that Denmark is not just Copenhagen, which I think itself is a huge achievement. We're so used to, as I was saying, identifying the Nordic countries with small population, with single cities. But the moment you talk about some variety within Copenhagen, which is not linked to some sport complex or something else, it itself is a major statement. So I think that is new. And I think the other thing that people are beginning to realize very much in Asia is that manufacturing is not where it's all at. Now most of the value added is really created, not through manufacturing, but through activities like marketing, through brand names, through design, and all those kinds of activities, in which second-tier cities can do extremely well.
The concept of being a city that somehow is the whole city thinking or working together. I think that's something very interesting for me. It's like the concept of collaboration, but really two things: collaboration or working together, this concept of city-wide innovation, and the other thing is the pragmatic or practical side of that.
Yes.
Because sometimes many people talk about collaboration, and sometimes people collaborate, but they don't deliver practical results. And I think these are the two things which, for me, can be different.
I liked the manifesto, and I liked very much the, implicit acceptance that we need to explain who we are, but move along very quickly. So I liked the Danish for Progress line. I think it was very clever. It achieved a lot. I also liked the embracing of the us and the build around it. I think it's something that has, it's definitely one of those things where you could see it lasting for a very long time, and for you to be able to play on that and build on that. Few city location names lend themselves to something as natural as that, and I think that was, I liked it.
Well, I think the biggest risk for any city, when talking about the brand, I think first is not really having a clear proposition. So the first thing for me, the first risk for Aarhus would be not defining what they have to offer the world that is different and is attractive. So that's the first thing. The second thing, I think you have to be bold and you have to be somehow determined to a certain statement. So I think looking at the brand promise, I think it's very interesting, very bold. And probably the main risk from there is that you have to deliver. You have to be convinced that this reflects the real ability, the real determination of the whole city to be what the brand says.
My view is really that this is now pretty standard, because one of the ways, first of all, we have a rapidly urbanizing world. The growth of second-tier cities is phenomenal. And I understand the Chinese are now building 200 new cities, in fact. In most of Asia, very soon, 70% of the population will live in cities. So we're going to get a growth of a very large number of second-tier cities. And they all have to compete in the market. They can't all set up large manufacturing centers and so on. So they have to focus on areas that they can do well. And they have to bring that to the attention of the market. So I think, I don't see any risks in this. I think this is just part of the business environment. And in fact, I would think that if you don't make those claims, you don't have a way of organizing, in the market, which is very effective. I think also that you just lose out, because it's like a company not having a website. A while ago, website was just seen to be a joke, and now if you don't have a website, people feel that the company really doesn't exist. So I think the language of business has changed. So I really don't think that's
I think what Aarhus is doing is a pretty bold claim, but that's part of the appeal. On the downside, though, when you make a bold claim, I think you have to follow through. And I think we live in a fairly sophisticated world. The key target audiences that you're trying to reach are discerning consumers, are well-read consumers, and there are lots and lots of comparisons being made. And I think that if people don't see progress and improvement and if there isn't a perception that what I'm seeing in 2012 is greater than what I saw in 2011, I think there is risk.
The risk is always that we develop the brand, but we fail to implement it with confidence and conviction. So it becomes, as it were, a theoretical exercise which loosely or rather informally informs what we say, the way we behave, how we communicate with the customers, how we manage relationships. And I think that in the case of a city like Aarhus, it must be much stronger than that. The brand and the brand platform must become a dominant organizing tool, not just for what we say, but also how we behave within the city and how we behave towards the external world. In other words, people have to experience the brand when they meet Aarhus, not just hear the words about the unique selling point and the message and everything else. So that would be the first thing. The second risk, of course, is that people in Aarhus themselves get bored of this brand platform and they say, well, that was last year, what's next year's brand platform? This would, of course, be the wrong way to go, but this is quite a common mistake in other cities. Branding, particularly place branding, provides a return which is exponential over time. It's not something that provides short-term returns in great abundance, although there will be some and they need to be carefully organized. But it's something that pays dividends over 5, 10, 15 and 20 years. So there is an issue of sticking with it and having, as I say, the courage of one's convictions and pursuing it over the right length of time.